Hey, how's it going? I'm just gonna start this right off. Now, I want to say a couple things too, which is really funny. Um, I think so anyway. You know, when you present data and you present, evidence, um, and as far as proof and documents online, and people want to fight you and they get angry at you and they get so pissed off, and then they try to insult you without saying anything intelligent to back up the opposite or to debunk you. What they do is they curse at you and insult you and then unfriend you. That's how you know you're winning, and that's a good sign. So I want to start off with that. That's how you know you're on the right track. And now I want to go through a couple of videos. And I guess this is going to be the part B to the China part of World War III ramping up, and it's just pretty much going to cover where I left off last time, about the coronavirus and about how dangerous it is, and about how many people tried to cover up the lies at first. How they wanted to just go against Trump no matter what he said, even if he was 100% correct. If he said, 3 plus 2 is 5, they'd say, no, it isn't. It's 5 point something, something, something. They'd always have some sort of excuse, and it would make them look like absolute crazy people. And they couldn't see that, too. They can't see their double standards. It's like when someone says something that's correct, and it seems correct, then try to do some research and figure it out before you open your mouth and just look like an asshole. And sure, Trump said some mean things, but he was usually right, and he was usually honest. And I think that's where some of those words came from. It's like he just spoke his mind. And some people can't handle when people are like that, but they're also correct. It just makes them mad, especially when I'm not going to get too much into the politics. I'm just going to show you what's going on here. And I'm going to start with just a couple videos. Some Rand Paul just really sticking it to people, and then realizing how logical it seems. And then I'm going to show you some evidence of the cover-ups and the origin. And then I'm going to show you some what's it called? Let's go take a look here for a second. And then I'm going to go into, some of the plans that China's had for a long time about creating this virus, and then the rush vaccine and how dangerous it is, how hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people have died after taking it, and now the kids that are taking it are suffering from heart problems, and how China wants to push the vaccine passport around the world. And in the last video I already established, and I've shown you proof and documents and links to how IBM is behind the vaccine passport, and how IBM was also behind the punch cards the Nazis used as one of the world's first computer companies. They soon became that, and they used it for the Jews to keep track of them. And how the vaccine passport is kind of like not only keeping track of the people who are infected, but it also gives them special treatment, much like the Nazi passport that the officers and people in the Reich had. So let's just start off with something that Rand Paul says.
We never know whether the pandemic arose from the lab in Wuhan, but we do know that so far no intermediate animal host has been discovered. Thousands of animals at the wet market have been looked at. None of them have carried COVID-19. We've tried to infect COVID-19 into bats. It doesn't grow well in bats. It seems most adapted and suitable for humans. We may not know whether this ever arose out of a Wuhan lab, but I think gain-of-function research, where we take a deadly virus, sometimes much more deadly than COVID, and then we increase its transmissibility to mammals, is wrong. In 2014, NIH stopped all of this research. I'm using the same definition to say any gain-of-function research should not be funded in China with U.S. taxpayer dollars, and I recommend a yes vote. Thank you.
And now I want to say how he's really smart how he did this, because not only did he bring up facts, but he also didn't admit to it being in a lab yet, or bring up any of the facts of that, because if you bring that up too soon, because this is a little while ago, if you bring that up too soon, then people are going to think it's conspiracy theory, and they're going to go against you no matter what. So he's been playing his cards so smart, So smart.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to vitiate the
And then
60 vote
after
requirement
this-
for this amendment in your back time.
Is there objection? Without objection.
After this, you hear a huge applause.
All time is yielded back. The question is now on the amendment.
There's only
All
one.
those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. It seems as if the ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.
So that amendment is to stop all gain-of-function research in China. Brilliant move. A little late, but that's an amazing thing. Now let's go to the next one. What's the next video? So now they're confronting Fauci about his original denial about having funding and anything to do with research in the lab. So let's see what this goes.
For working with its distribution. I want to first start by quoting from a 2011 opinion piece that Dr. Fauci and Dr. Collins wrote for the Washington Post, A Flu Virus Risk Worth Taking, where it includes that you conclude, along with support for this research comes a responsibility to ensure that the information is used for good. Safeguarding against the potential accidental release or deliberate misuse of laboratory pathogens is imperative. The engineered virus developed in the ferret experiments in your column are maintained in high-security laboratories. The scientists, journal editors, and funding agencies involved are working together to ensure that access to specific information that could be used to create dangerous pathogens is limited to those with an established and legitimate need to know. So when I'm looking at a letter that Congressman Mike Gallagher sent to you back in early May, it says that that funding for the funding was about $17 million was directed to Echo Health Alliance, and rather than $600,000, much of that was sent to the Wuhan lab. Can you account for the $17 million that was allocated to Echo Lab and speak to the disparity in the amounts that you're discussing, Dr. Fauci?
Yeah, Congressman Klein, it is absolutely correct that about 600,000, about 800,000 was allocated, and about 600,000 was spent over a 5-year period, no more than that. That comes to anywhere between $125,000 and $150,000 per year that went into collaboration with Wuhan. So the number of hundreds of thousands as opposed to millions is correct. The millions number is incorrect. EcoHealth had several millions. I don't know the exact amount that went to EcoHealth, but would be happy to get to that precise number.
I see it now, 13.7 that was allocated to EcoHealth, 17 projects sponsored by NIAID, providing over 7.9 million in federal awards for the research of viral emergence from bats in Southeast Asia. Echo Health Alliance passed some of its funding to WIV, the Wuhan lab, and in 2020, NIH made efforts to obtain information from EcoHealth Alliance about Wuhan lab related to concerns about the origins of COVID-19. It says that in your letter to Echo Health, it's our understanding that one of the subrecipients is Wuhan lab. It's our understanding that WIV studies the interaction between coronavirus and bats. And there are now allegations that the current crisis was precipitated by the release from WIV of the coronavirus responsible for COVID-19. Given these concerns, we're pursuing suspension of WIV from participation in the federal program.
So that's a whole lot of crazy shit right there. I hope you're paying attention. It turns out he knew about the funding. He was backing the funding, wrote a paper about it. So let's go to the next video.
To explore all possibilities. Instead, government authorities, self-interested in continuing gain-of-function research, say there's nothing to see here. Gain-of-function research, as you know, is juicing up naturally occurring animal viruses to infect humans. To arrive at the truth, the U.S. government should admit that the Wuhan Virology Institute was experimenting to enhance the coronavirus's ability to infect humans. Juicing up superviruses is not new. Scientists in the U.S. have long known how to mutate animal viruses to infect humans. For years, Dr. Ralph Barrick, a virologist in the U.S., has been collaborating with Dr. Shi Zhengli of the Wuhan Virology Institute.
So listen to that. So for years and years, people in the United States have been working in coordination with the Wuhan labs in order to create these viruses and experimentations on viruses to see if they could infect humans and how deadly it would be.
Institute, sharing his discoveries about how to create superviruses. This gain-of-function research has been funded by the NIH. The collaboration between the U.S. and the Wuhan Virology Institute continues. Doctors Barrick and Shi work together to insert bat virus spike protein into the backbone of the deadly SARS virus, and then use this man-made supervirus to infect human airway cells. Think about that for a moment. The SARS virus had a 15% mortality. We're fighting a pandemic that has about a 1% mortality. Can you imagine if a SARS virus that's been juiced up and had viral proteins added to it, to the spike protein, if that were released accidentally? Dr. Fauci, do you still support funding of the NIH funding of the lab in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, with all due respect, you are entirely and completely incorrect that the NIH has not ever...
See, listen to this crazy psycho. This takes place before the last video I just showed you. I should have flipped him around, but this is actually kind of good because now it shows you him directly lying, avoiding questions, misinterpreting on purpose, and changing the words around. And then he was confronted in the previous video that you saw. So just look at that lying piece of crap.
And does not now fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan Institute.
Do they fund Dr. Barrick?
We do not fund.
Do you fund Dr. Barrick's gain-of-function research?
Dr. Barrick does not do gain-of-function research, and if it is, it's according to the guidelines, and it is being conducted in North Carolina.
You don't think inserting a bat virus spike protein that he got from the Wuhan Institute into the SARS virus is gain-of-function?
That is
not
not
a minority because at least 200 scientists.
And if it does, it's in North Carolina labs? What? On American soil?
scientists have signed a statement from the Cambridge Working Group saying that it is gain of function.
Well, it is not. And if you look at the grant and you look at the progress reports, it is not gain of function, despite the fact that people tweet that.
So do you still support sending money to the Wuhan Virology Institute?
We do not send money now to the Wuhan
Do you support sending money? We did, under your tutelage. We were sending it through EcoHealth. It was a sub-agency and a sub-grant. Do you support that the money from NIH that was going to the Wuhan Institute?
Let me explain to you why that was done. The SARS-CoV-1 originated in bats in China. It would have been irresponsible of us if we...
So then he admits it and rephrases it. You gotta love this guy, right?
did not investigate the bat viruses and the serology to see who might have been
Or
infected.
perhaps it would be
in China.
possible to send it to the Chinese government that we may not be able to trust with this knowledge and with this incredibly dangerous viruses. Government scientists like yourself who favor gain of function
I don't favor gain of function research in China. You're saying things that are not correct.
Government defenders of gain of function, such as yourself, say that COVID-19 mutations were random and not designed by man. But interestingly, the technique that Dr. Barrett developed forces mutations by serial passage through cell culture that the mutations appear to be natural. In fact, Dr. Barrett named the technique the no-seum technique because the mutations appear naturally. Nicholas Baker of the New York Magazine said nobody would know if the virus had been fabricated in a laboratory or grown in nature. Government authorities in the U.S., including yourself, unequivocally deny that COVID-19 could have escaped a lab. But even Dr.
So these were also designed specifically to make it seem like it was, I guess, mimicking nature. So specifically designed because they want to make it as close to nature as possible. So they specifically design these things so you won't be able to tell if it's a natural virus or not. Just keep that in mind.
Dr. Shi in Wuhan wasn't so sure. According to Nicholas Baker, Dr. Shi wondered, could this new virus have come from her own laboratory? She checked her records frantically and found no matches. That really took a load off my mind, she said. I had not slept for days. The director of the gain of function research in Wuhan couldn't sleep because she was terrified that it might be in her lab. Dr. Barrick, an advocate of gain of function research, admits the main problem that the Institute of Virology has is the outbreak occurred in close proximity. What are the odds? Barrick responded, could you rule out a laboratory escape? The answer in this case is probably not. Will you, in front of this group, categorically say that the COVID-19 could not have occurred through serial passage in a laboratory?
I do not have any accounting of what the Chinese may have done, and I'm fully in favor of any further investigation of what went on in China. However, I will repeat again, the NIH and NIAID categorically has not funded gain-of-function research to be conducted in the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
You support it in the U.S. We have 11 labs doing it, and you have allowed it here. We have a committee to do it, but the committee has granted every exemption. You're fooling with Mother Nature here. You're allowing super viruses to be created with a 15% mortality. It's very dangerous, and it was a huge mistake to share this with China, and it's a huge mistake to allow this to continue in the United States, and we should be very careful to investigate where this virus came from.
Yep. And then if we go back, what did they say?
That the information is used for good. Safeguarding against the potential accidental release or deliberate misuse of laboratory pathogens is imperative. The engineered virus developed in ferret experiments in your column are maintained in high-security laboratories. The scientists, journal editors, and funding agencies involved are working together to ensure that access to specific information that could be used to create dangerous pathogens is limited to those with an established and legitimate need to know. So when I'm looking at a letter that...
I mean, it just gets crazier and crazier. And then we have, in this video, is former director of the CDC talking about how this seems more like a lab leak than anything else. Center of Disease Control said that this virus was probably created in a lab. In fact, in his words, he says it was, but that's his opinion. I mean, how much closer do you have to get?
I hesitated before bringing this story to you, but if you can't report on this when it's clear experts making this proclamation, then you can never report on it. So, I mean, this video will probably be demonetized and, could be viewed as promotion of an extremist position or whatever, but I gotta tell you the truth. So anyway, this is surprising. This is a bombshell from the former CDC head. He goes on CNN, the most establishment of every outlet, to say something shocking about the origins of COVID-19.
If I was to guess, this virus started transmitting somewhere in September, October in Wuhan.
September, October.
That's my own view. It's an opinion. I'm allowed to have opinions now. I am of the point of view that I still think the most likely etiology of this pathogen in Wuhan was from a laboratory, escaped. The other people don't believe that. That's fine. Science will eventually figure it out. It's not unusual for respiratory pathogens that are being worked on in a laboratory to infect a laboratory worker.
It is also not unusual for that type of research to be occurring in Wuhan. The city is a widely known center for viral studies in China, including the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which has experimented extensively with bat coronaviruses.
It is a remarkable conversation I feel like we're having here because you are the former CDC director and you were the director at the time this was all happening.
For the first time, the former CDC director is stating publicly that he believes this pandemic started months earlier than we knew, and that it originated, not at a wet market, but inside a lab in China.
These are two significant things to say, Dr. Redfield.
And that's not implying any intentionality. It's my opinion, right? But I am a virologist. I have spent my life in virology. I do not believe this somehow came from a bat to a human, and at that moment in time, the virus that came to the human became one of the most infectious viruses that we know in humanity for human-to-human transmission. Normally when a pathogen goes from a zoonoid to human, it takes a while for it to figure out how to become more and more efficient in human-to-human transmission. I just don't think this makes biological sense.
So in the lab, you think that process of becoming more efficient was happening? Is that what you were suggesting?
Yeah, let's just say I have coronavirus that I'm working on. Most of us in the lab are trying to grow a virus. We try to help make it grow better and better and better and better and better and better so we can do experiments and figure out about it. That's the way I put it together.
It's a pretty extraordinary conversation.
Now, isn't that insane? It's like, how many things have to line up? And this is something that I was saying over a year and a half ago. When this thing first broke out, I was saying that this is probably a lab leak. And then you had all the people who just hate Trump and can't deal with him with their TDS saying, no, so stupid, it's so dumb. Look, everything's a lie. Turns out it all seems like it's starting to make sense now, and all the pieces are coming together. Even Dr. Fauci now is starting to admit it. I mean, what's going on here? I'm going to leave all the links to the videos in here. So you can go take a look at them in full. Now, this is one of the things I brought up last time. This is from a leaked document from 2015, revealed a discussion about top secret scientists who said that the virus could be unleashed in a way never seen before. And I'm going to leave this in there too. Seems to be weaponized SARS coronavirus. 2015. By China. China public health official said this. Where was the lab? In China. Wuhan, China. What have we established? That none of the markets had the coronavirus in any of the animals there. Not a single animal was ever traced to coronavirus. And what's in Wuhan? The center of virology research. Like, come on, people. Come on, people. I'm going to leave this. I'm going to leave all of these documents and links and stuff down below. Or links, really. I'm going to go through this in order. So now the SPARS pandemic scenario. Now this one goes over what would happen with a if something did leak. And there was, look, the scenario is hypothetical. Infectious pathogen, medical countermeasures, characters, news, media experts, blah, 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 is entirely fictional. And when was this? This was October of 2017. Sounds like they might have had some misinformation, but turns out it was fiction after all. This turned out to be exactly what happened. I'm leaving all the links below. And now this thing is why China is rooting for Joe Biden and why China wanted Biden in. And we know the connections between Biden and China and Hunter Biden and China. We know this now, and it seems kind of like the 2020 thing was rigged. And I have no doubt that it was. Now that more and more things are coming out with all the audits that are taking place across the country now, and all the information and all the discrepancies, how they were saying, without any doubt, this is the most secure election in history. It has to be. But making crazy claims like that are usually false. And what does it turn out? Everything that Biden is doing since he's been in office has been emulating and mimicking China. I'm really starting to think that China is pulling all the strings behind the Biden administration. All of it. From the vaccine passport, which we're going to go into, to everything, even the digital currency that's going to be coming soon. What did China do? China banned all cryptocurrency. And then there was a huge sell-off. I mean, I'm going to make another video about just cryptocurrency and stuff too. But everything in this points to how China wants Joe Biden. And it seems like Joe Biden is doing everything China wants. And where did this virus come from? China. And who's pushing for the vaccine passports? And who did it first? China. Where did all the missing people and deactivated cell phones go and round up? In China. And who were they? They were the minorities that they wanted swept up. What's going on here? It seems awfully like what's kind of going on in America right now. They're having this passport. What were they doing? They were even like rounding up Jews in New York City. Remember they were closing down all the Jewish stuff and rounding them up and arresting them until people caught on, and they were only doing it to the Jewish playgrounds. Like this should really set off some warning bells. Chief of who shielded China in the wake of Wuhan Coronavirus, had to cover up other pandemics in the past. Yep, namely the Ebola virus. And what was he doing? Well, what he was doing in the past was he was covering up all the and you can read through this, and I'm told you I'm going to leave all the links. He was covering up the symptoms of the Ebola virus, so people weren't able to diagnose it correctly, and it was just causing more and more deaths in Africa during the whole genocide, if that's what you want to call it. Fauci, many mistakes and lies. Director said one thing months ago. Today tries to blame President Trump. And we won't play the video, but this has a whole bunch of the lies that Fauci was going back and forth on. You know? It's really crazy. Everything. He later compared the coronavirus to a bad flu. It's like, no. It's like, this was some serious stuff going on. You know? There are so many more, too. If somebody didn't already, I'm going to make a compilation of all of Fauci's lies. All of the lies. And he's going to look so stupid when you watch it. And then all the people who are just hanging on every word that he was saying are also going to look so stupid. Embarrassing. And then we have the influence that China has over the WHO. Let's see some of this. Over the past several months, the World Health Organization has been thrust into the international spotlight, with governments across the globe sought guidance on how to stop the pandemic caused by the novel coronavirus. You know, I'm already at 20 minutes. I'm just going to leave all these documents. You can kind of go over them. The financial contributors, who's paying the most, who's paying the least. Like, this is all information that you guys should know. There we go. Cholera. That's it. He was accused of the cholera outbreaks and disguising it, and then calling it Ebola. I think that's what it was. It's really crazy. And then he's the same guy that they put in charge of it at first. I mean, I don't know what happened now. He's kind of almost like dropped off the board. I haven't really seen him do much or say much since. So he's untrustworthy. And then what is the people on Twitter and Facebook? Facebook banned me for 30 days once I started speaking up about this stuff. And they tried to find any excuse possible. And what did they ban me for? They banned me for a picture of two turtles doing ballet. And a friend of mine who posted it, and I joke about it, and I joked to him and I said, because he goes, somebody please tell me what this is about, and had a picture of two turtles in a lake or river, and they were just on top of each other and it looked like they were doing ballet. And I said, I can tell you, but I'm going to have to kill you, you know, like a CIA joke. And then they banned me without any reasonable cause. And I even protested it and sent them information and everything, and they were like, nope, that's the reason. And then this is just more links to Fauci, and it turned out to all be true, and his links to the coronavirus and the Wuhan lab experiments, and then more. Lab leak, clear warning signs. China urges WHO to let the vaccine passport run globally, just like I was saying. So this is something that China wants to do too. China's been pushing for these vaccination passports because they're going to tell the America to do the same thing, and then they're probably going to tell them to start rounding up people that don't have it or that do have it and they're sick. That might be it too. That's one of the reasons I'm not getting it. It's like, if they're going to grab all my information and track me down, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. Like I've already put in the previous video how this is linked to the Nazi Party and the CCP and IBM. It's like, we don't need any of that. And then what is this? This one was heart problems reported in teens and young adults who got the COVID vaccine. So now all the kids that they're pushing to get these vaccines and telling parents to do it, this is experimental drug. It still hasn't been approved at all. It's been rushed past the safety trials, and they have a bill of no fault, which means they can't get in trouble if people die, including your children, including your family, your wife, your husband, your grandparents, your parents. Like, this is all rushed. It's like they just want to mass kill everybody. It's like, what the hell is going on? It's like, I don't want to get too far into conspiracies, because this is not conspiracy theory. This is legit. Like, I'm showing you everything, and I have everything to back it up. But there's also talk about the Georgia Guidestones. That's some pretty crazy stuff too. And what is one of the new commandments on the Georgia Guidestones? It's the world's population shall not rise above 500 million. So they want to limit the population of the planet to 500 million. That's an actual goal that people have. And it seems all this stuff is happening. It's like, I'm kind of believing that, it was an accidental lab leak, but who knows? Maybe it was, and it just came out a little too soon, and they wanted something a little more efficient. But seems that people are getting sick from the, like, this is the thing too, is a lot of young people were not even getting infected with the virus, and now they're telling you to inject your kids with experimental vaccines that's actually hurting them and messing with their heart. If they have heart problems now, there have been 18 in Connecticut alone. If they're doing that now, then what kind of heart problems are they going to develop in the future? It's like, these are your kids. If you love them, if you actually love them, I don't think you'd be pumping experimental fluids into their body. What's the next one? Hell, this is the John Hopkins Medical Society. Heart problems after COVID-19. It's like that, but then also the vaccine is giving people heart problems. What's going on here? So now the CDC is looking into heart inflammation in young vaccine recipients. It's like, if people have to go out of their way to try to bribe you with lottery tickets and food and addictive drugs like alcohol — you can consider alcohol a drug, it's a toxin — it's like, then there has to be ulterior motives here. It's really insane. Anyone that tries to bribe you into something should be a clear sign that it might not be what you want or anything that's good for you. So it's teenagers and young adults who receive the COVID-19 experimental heart inflammation vaccines experience heart inflammation, and that's insane. May 17th said, I looked into reports. A few young vaccine recipients, predominantly adolescent young adults, and predominantly male, developed myocarditis. That's inflammation of the heart muscle. Pfizer launched COVID-19 vaccine trial on kids under 12. Think about that. Repeat that a few times. Launch COVID vaccine trial. It means they're trying it. It means they don't know what the effects are going to be. They don't know how bad this is. The permit for a COVID-19 jabs for children. Like, I'm leaving all this stuff behind so you could look into this. And now they want to do it just to push students and stuff getting back to school, because they know that kids going back to school is not good. I mean, it's not good that they're missing school, so they'll do anything to cover their asses for it, including endanger them, just to make it the majority go. Like, this is all psychotic stuff. This is like Nazi-esque kind of stuff going on in the world right now. And people are trying to turn their eye to it. It's like the same people who are complying to the Nazi party are the same people going, oh no, do it, it's fine. Trump said the opposite. Over 900 died after receiving COVID-19 vaccine. But experts say data is misinterpreted. Experts? What experts? It's like they just throw the word around. Reminds me of that skit from Mr. Show. The expert trucks are coming. It's like, come on. 977 people have reportedly died after receiving the COVID-19 vaccine from Moderna and Pfizer. Over 49% of those died from the Moderna, while 51 received the Pfizer vaccine. What is going on here? You've got to be stupid and really messed up in the head. 35 deaths are reported in Michigan. It's like, this is bad. If you're giving this to your child, you're either misinformed, desperate, just scared out of your wits, or absolutely messed up. I would never. I want this to be under scrutiny for at least 10 years. At least 10 years before I would ever give this to my children or anyone that I love. You know? Like, we already saw that that's true. And then you got people fact-checking it. This many people died. It's like women's health. It's like, come on, people. You really care about... As of this past Sunday, 977 people died after receiving the vaccine from both Moderna and Pfizer. It's like, what else do you need to know? Come on, people. Wake up. $7,000 Americans have had a reaction to the COVID-19 vaccine so far. It's like, I made a video, I'm going to put that in the link below too, about the Food and Death Administration. And it's going to show you that even stuff that passed by the FDA ended up being canceled and destructive and harmful and deadly to people. You know, this has been going on for like 200 years. Just because we're in the 2000s doesn't mean we're that much more advanced. It just means we're that much more advanced at experimenting on people. And we've gotten that much clever at tricking people into doing it and taking these things. It's like, how crazy does everything have to be right now? You know? And now this is what I want to show you next. Go through some of this. They're offering $100 saving bonds to entice young people to get vaccinated. What happened here? Does my unvaccinated child still have to wear a mask? New York bill would lower... Oh, that's just something else. That's just some crazy too. They're going to lower the blood alcohol limit to drive. What the fuck? Moderna says vaccine protects children as young as 12. Protects them, like gives them heart problems? Now here's something. See, this is the passport they're trying to push. Now they're offering 2-day state park passes offered as an incentive to get vaccinated. Cuomo, you're insane. This guy killed thousands of elderly, which I think was done on purpose. I really do. Because I was saying, as it was happening, I was like, only someone who wants to hurt these people on purpose is going to put them all into nursing homes. It's like, and now they're giving you a 2-day park pass, like that's going to make up for your death of your life or the failure of your heart. How insane. And now they're having the vaccination proof is valid for 1 year. Why? What happens after that year? It's like this is something that's going on too. It's a free pass, voluntary, secure way of proof. And at this time, passes are only available to those who have received the COVID-19 vaccination or the antigen test. Now it's available for 15 days after the final dose. And it's valid for 1 year, 365 days. It's valid, and then the test is valid until midnight on the 3rd day after the test. The antigen test is 6 hours from the time of test. It's like, this stuff is just so crazy and insane. It's like, how... And you know what? I'll be completely honest here too. I'm not making fun of anyone who has just been scared. I understand. The whole point is to try to ease a lot of people. I think in some regards, I think a lot of it's also just selfish stuff. I think a lot of it's just really selfish, and they don't care. They don't care about the people. They don't care about anybody. They just have other goals in mind too, and they don't want people to talk trash about the vaccines because of how much money they put into it. Their money and their investments and investors are worth more than any amount of people on Earth, as you can clearly see. A lot of this has to just do with them trying to continue these massive machine projects that they initiated to. They don't want them to end and fail. And we're seeing so many problems with everything else right now. It's like every single aspect of society is just collapsing and falling apart. You know? Everything. They're trying to soften up our military. Why? So other countries have a fighting chance, like China and Iran. They're trying to make people that that have, dysphoria problems. They're trying to get everyone to join the military. They're trying to make it softer. They're making the tests easier to pass. Everything is declining in America, specifically America. And all of these things amount to the destruction of our world over here, our Western nation. Everything from brainwashing young people and college kids into thinking to hate America and side with China. It's like, what's going on? This is all psychological warfare too. I'm gonna make videos about that, about how the values are deteriorating because people are being brainwashed at a young age to even accept hormonal injections, and it changes the way they think in their mind. They also have been doing experiments since 2016 where they've been making these magnetic proteins, and there's videos of them doing the research in the lab and showing the effects on plankton. And what they do is when there's certain magnets or lasers or whatever, they interact and create those connections using using the pulse and the magnetic what's the word? The magnetic pulse. There you go. Ends up moving the proteins inside of the cells. It's like they can do this. It's so crazy. It's like I just had to show you this stuff because where I think this is leading to, it's now they're going to start pushing for this. It's like, it's kind of confusing because it's kind of weird. It's like at one hand, it seems like the administration is doing everything that China wants, and they're mimicking China and forcing us to do all these things and pushing it on us. And at the other token, on the other side, it's like they need a push for war. And what are they doing? I think now they have to turn around and admit a lot of things. And now they have to admit that China released, or by accident released, this virus that affected the world. And they've caused trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in damages across the world. They're going to have to pay for that. Trillions and trillions just in this one country alone. Across the world, man, I don't know, whatever the next number up is. China's going to have to pay for that, and they're probably not going to want to. And that's probably going to lead to something even more serious, like they're pushing back right now. Like I showed in the last video about, what's happening in the sea and what's happening in nations and the Belt and Road Initiative. It's like all of this is just leading up. It's just leading up to a lot more chaos. It's not slowing down. It's getting worse. It's getting worse all the time. But this is why we need to prepare for it. Everyone's got to prepare for it. At least prepare to feel safe, I'm going to move out of this state. I'm in New York right now, and I'm going to move out. See you later. Gonna be gone. The stock market's falling like I've been showing you. Everything's falling apart. Well, anyway, that's the video. Just kind of wrap it up here, and there's going to be more parts to come. More things up ahead. So, I don't know how many parts this series is going to be, but maybe until the war actually takes place. Let's hope it doesn't. But there you go. Well, something to think about. Have a great night. And enjoy your week. Talk to you soon.